What if everything you believed about love was a lie? What if the person you trusted most was actually a master of manipulation, slowly turning your world upside down? This is my story, and it could be yours too. It all started like a fairy tale, or at least that's what I thought. I was swept off my feet by someone who seemed perfect in every way, charming, attentive, and always there when I needed him. I thought I had found my soulmate. But little did I know, I was stepping into a nightmare. At first, it was subtle. A sarcastic comment here, a dismissive gesture there. "Why are you always so sensitive?" he'd ask, laughing it off as if it was nothing. And for a while, I convinced myself that it was nothing. Have you ever been made to feel like you're overreacting, like your feelings aren't valid? If so, keep watching, because this story might sound familiar. He was always just trying to help, picking out my clothes, suggesting I spend less time with my friends because they didn't really understand me. Little by little, he was cutting me off from my world, making me more dependent on him. Have you ever had someone try to control your choices like that? It starts small, doesn't it? But then you realize you're living in a world that's getting smaller and smaller. And by the time I noticed, I was already trapped. Things got worse. His words became like knives, cutting deep. He started accusing me of things I never did, twisting reality until I didn't know what was real anymore. Have you ever doubted your own sanity? Felt like you were losing your grip on reality because of someone else's lies? That's how he made me feel every single day. I tried to prove to myself that I wasn't crazy, that I remembered things correctly. But every time I confronted him, he'd laugh and say I was making things up. "You're just paranoid," he'd say. "You're imagining things." And the more he said it, the more I started to believe him. Gaslighting. It's a form of psychological manipulation that makes you question everything you know to be true. And he was a master at it. If you've been through this, you know how disorienting it is, how it makes you feel like you're losing your mind. How do you hold on to reality when everything around you feels like a lie? I kept a journal, writing down everything that happened. But even then, I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, he was right. Maybe I was the problem. There was a time when I was happy, when I was surrounded by people who loved me, when I could laugh freely without fear. But he made me believe that no one understood me like he did, that I didn't need anyone else but him. To anyone out there feeling isolated right now, I want you to know, you are not alone, you are not crazy, and you are not powerless. There was still a part of me that remembered who I was, a small, flickering light inside that refused to be snuffed out. One day, in a crowded coffee shop, I overheard a conversation that would change everything. Two women talking about their experiences with narcissistic abuse. Every word they said hit me like a lightning bolt. It was like they were telling my story. Have you ever had a moment when everything just clicks? When all the pieces of the puzzle fall into place and you finally see the full picture? In that moment, I realized I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining things. I was being manipulated, controlled, abused. I knew I had to get out. I didn't know how or when, but I knew I couldn't stay any longer. I started planning, quietly, secretly, but I didn't know if I'd make it. And then he came home early. Standing there, frozen in fear, I realized the depth of his control over me, not just physically, but mentally. He had made me doubt myself, question my worth, isolate myself from everyone who loved me. I had become a prisoner in my own mind. But even then, a small voice inside me said, "You're stronger than this. You've survived this long. You can break free." And I knew, no matter what, I wasn't going to let him win. That night was a turning point. Leaving wasn't easy. It was terrifying. But it was the best decision I ever made. Leaving was just the beginning. The journey to healing was long and filled with challenges. Even now, I hear his voice in my head sometimes. That critical whisper that tells me I'm not enough, that I should doubt myself. It's like a ghost of my past, a reminder of the control he once had over me. But today, I am stronger than I've ever been. I've learned that healing doesn't mean erasing the past. It means learning to live alongside it, to acknowledge the scars without letting them define me. I've rebuilt my life on my own terms. I've surrounded myself with people who love and support me, who remind me of my worth and my strength. I've found happiness again, not because the memories have disappeared, but because I've chosen to reclaim my power and write my own story. To anyone out there who feels trapped, who feels like they can't escape the shadow of a narcissistic partner, I want you to know that there is hope. You are stronger than you think, and you are not alone. The journey isn't easy, but every step you take toward freedom and self-love is worth it. I am not defined by what happened to me. I am defined by my strength to overcome it. And every day, I choose to be happy, to live free from his control, and to embrace the beautiful life I've created. Despite everything, I am finally at peace. Your past does not define your future. Find your strength and live your truth. Trust yourself. Trust that little voice inside that knows the truth. It's never too late to find your way back to yourself.